The year is 2008, and there's certainly no shortage of great games to play. I'm getting my shooter fix on Gears of War 2, my single-player RPG addiction quenched with Fallout 3, my couch co-op fun in Mario Kart Wii, and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Valve was still making great games with Left 4 Dead, and I was even caught off guard that EA was capable of something good with the release of Dead Space. Yeah, it was a great time for gaming. The industry was booming, and it seemed like all our entertainment needs were met. That is until a new trailer dropped and left us all picking our jaws up off the floor. Little did we know just how much it would forever change the industry. This trailer left me speechless. Demon's Souls didn't quite look like anything I had seen before. This action RPG hybrid was absolutely dripping with tense atmosphere, and a generally dark, almost uninviting presence, seemingly tapping into something that no other game developer was at the time. I knew nothing about From Software, having only briefly played an older Armored Core game and failing miserably at it. All I had to go off of was interviews with the game's director, Hidetaka Miyazaki, promising a dark, open-ended, and old-school game that provided players with an intense challenge. I was already hooked, and I just had to play this thing when it came out next year. But there was one major problem. It was a PS3 exclusive, and I just couldn't justify the $600 price tag for this one game. So I'd sadly be sitting this one out, and putting it in the back of my thoughts. Of course, the game comes out and it's all I hear about, being wildly praised for its striking visuals, deep combat, open exploration, unique online component, and of course its difficulty. Even the negative reviews calling it too tedious or overly challenging only made me want to play the game more. From the outside looking in, this was exactly my kind of game. One that I didn't even know I wanted, but now that it's out there, I need it. However, I accepted that this is just one that I'd be skipping. Perhaps years from now, when the console's cheaper, I'll get to go back and play it. By then, I'll probably even have a sequel to enjoy too, right? So, once again, it was time to forget all about this game's existence. That is until a few short years later, a new announcement would again shake up the industry. It only took 2 years. Demon's Souls had all but faded from memory when this trailer dropped. An epic new multi-platform game that From Software was calling its spiritual successor, taking what they learned and improving upon it in just about every way. Dark Souls was coming, and it looked incredible. From new mechanics, a new world to explore, and visual quality upgrades, this game was shaping up to be something special. Once again, I found myself searching for any piece of new information I could find, even going back and watching Demon's Souls gameplay to help ease the waiting. Luckily, it wouldn't be long. In late 2011, I'd finally get to experience a From Software game proper, and wow, what an experience it would turn out to be. Dark Souls felt so fresh and unique, yet familiar enough in all the best ways. Right from the beginning, I was hooked on it. From the incredible art style to its deeply rewarding combat and exploration systems, it was clear even then that this was going to be something to remember. No other game threw you into such a hostile world with little training and basically says, figure it out, while you get assaulted by everything in sight. It was exactly the kind of game we needed, and we loved it for that. However, make no mistake, early on, you will be getting assaulted. A lot. For example, this first guy tells you to ring a set of bells, located somewhere high above and below. So, after a quick look around, you spot some stairs and you're dead. You try a few more times, but there's like 5 enemies here, man. So you look around and try another path. You wander into a new area, see some new enemies, and immediately die. Well, damn, that can't be the way. So, after more exploring, you find yet another path, this time leading down. Way down. Things get spooky. You meet a guy that wants to stay in jail, can't say I blame him. Encounter some immortal ghost things and die. Alright, well, back to the stairs it is, I guess. You'll die to the first hollow. Die to the one throwing fire bombs. Die from falling. Die from healing. Die from being surrounded. Die from jumping too soon. Die from not blocking. Die from blocking too much. Die from jumping too late. Die from rolling, die from parrying, die from choosing to die. You'll die, 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 die. Then something incredible happens. You don't die. You live. You're a winner. You pass that area you were stuck in, defeat that big enemy in your way, and slay the boss you've been fighting for hours. What was once frustration turns to pure happiness and sense of accomplishment. Suddenly, you can see all that death in a new positive light. Every death was the game teaching you something new, slowly building you into a better player through trial and error. Sure, your character is a little stronger and equipment slightly improved, but it's you, the player, that experiences the most growth. Things start to click, and encounters that gave you problems become nothing more than a minor hindrance. Sure, the journey ahead most certainly has more depth in store for you, but you've learned from Software's greatest lesson. Failure is nothing more than a learning opportunity. So hold on a minute. There's a lot more I want to unpack about the game's design philosophy, but first, let's back up a bit. I've been showing gameplay from the vanilla Prepare to Die edition on PC for the sake of authenticity to the time. I first played the game at launch on the Xbox 360, then picked up the PC version the following year in 2012 when it launched. More recently in 2018, a remastered version of the game would launch, which featured a few quality of life changes, but mostly just graphical enhancements. From here on out, I'll be using footage from the remastered PC version. I mean, look at how good this game looks. Even now in 2023, it still holds up. The design aesthetics are just that damn good. So with that out of the way, what even is Dark Souls about? Well, there's approximately 2 billion story and lore videos out there that deep dive into every pixel of the game, so I won't be getting into too much here. In fact, if you're watching this and haven't played Dark Souls, I strongly urge you to go experience it for yourself. Read every line of text and pay attention to the environmental storytelling. It's such a rewarding experience, uncovering details and connecting dots through the game's more hands-off, piecemeal approach to narrative. Anyways, you play as Dark Soul. You kill all the bad guys and doesn't afraid of anything. Okay, sorry, I had to. Though, honestly, it's not too far off. Huh. That works for most games, doesn't it? Right after choosing your class and creating your character, you're treated to an awesome cinematic that really sets the stage for the rest of the game. You learn that the world was nothing but fog and dragons, until the first flame sparked into existence below the surface, essentially creating dichotomies such as life and death, light and dark. From this new darkness came 3 creatures that claimed Lord Souls from within the flame, granting them godlike power. Another would find the Dark Soul, granting Hollows their humanity. The 3 then waged war on the dragons, defeating them, beginning the Age of Fire. However, the fire is fading, and soon there will be only darkness. That's where the player comes in, an undead locked away to await the end of everything. That is until, like any good RPG, someone sets you free and you quickly learn that you're the chosen one that must rekindle the dying flame. This is the straightest bit of narration you'll get through the entire game, and it's all in the opening. As far as objectives go, it's really all you need to know, but for those interested, there's a ton of lore and history you can uncover through reading item descriptions and environmental clues. There's also a fair bit of NPCs you'll meet and rescue throughout the game. Talking to them reveals purpose and their place in the world. Some offering quest lines that you can complete between killing bosses or exploring new areas. It's always worth checking in on everyone after a boss battle to see if there's been any new developments. This not only helps you understand the story better, but makes the world feel more dynamic and reactive to the player's presence. It's a great system. I can understand if it leaves you wanting a tighter narrative style, but I love the mystery and intrigue as we're tasked with piecing it together ourselves. As for the general gameplay loop, you'll be exploring the interconnected world of Lordran, a hostile land that wants you dead. So you'll be spending the majority of your time fighting your way through several unique areas and biomes that each culminate in an epic boss encounter. Slaying enemies grants you souls, a currency you'll be using on everything from buying spells, equipment, and upgrades to directly leveling up your character's stats. While out exploring, you'll find bonfires, which function as both a checkpoint and where you can spend your souls to level up. Resting at one restores your health, potions, and magic, but also respawns all enemies, creating this constant risk-reward between exploring the unknown or playing it safe and going back to cash your souls out. Upon death, you drop all of your souls, and must return to where you died to recover them. If you die again before recovering them, they're lost forever. Combat itself is this puzzle of resource management and knowledge of not only your own moveset, but your enemy's attack patterns and weaknesses. Nearly every action you perform costs stamina. Without it, you become rather vulnerable, being unable to block or roll away from attacks. Enemy attacks are mostly well telegraphed, giving you time to choose the appropriate response to a situation and learn their patterns. On the flip side, your attacks are slow and deliberate, locking you into lengthy animations before you can perform another action. All this results in learning when it's safe for you to act, eventually turning into a dance of death. You also have a wide list of powerful magic available to you, but its limited use turns it into another resource to manage. Okay, finally now with the stage set, I like to go back to something I touched on earlier, and that's what I believe to be From Software's best design choice, learning through failure. In fact, I'd say it's their core value that they've structured their entire catalog around. Dying is just a part of the experience you have to come to terms with. Sure, it may be frustrating at first, but you quickly realize there's very few unfair or unpredictable deaths. Okay, this one is still bullshit every single time. Anyways, everything is deliberately designed and placed in the world to teach you how to handle future encounters, be it through combat or exploration. As a result, the game will often subvert your expectations. Just when you think you've seen everything or know what to expect around the corner, it pulls another trick from its sleeve. Most tricks of course ending in death, returning you to a bonfire where you're meant to reflect on why you just died and how you can overcome it. Naturally, most games have some sort of game ending scenario. Dying and starting over certainly wasn't new or revolutionary after all, but the way it's implemented in the Soulsborne series is a stroke of genius. Sure, there's always been punishingly difficult games since the earliest days of gaming, but Dark Souls is different. Despite its marketing and general consensus of being one of the hardest games of all time, I'd actually argue that reducing its legacy of accomplishments down to only its difficulty completely misses what actually made it special in the first place. Yes, it's a challenging game, but more than that, it's a cohesive experience that's connected in ways very few games still have yet to match, even the other Soulsbornes. When From Software made Dark Souls, they had a very strong vision, one that wasn't afraid to potentially scare off some players with its refusal to hold your hand. That decision is what gave them the creative freedom to lay the groundwork for such a rewarding player-driven combat system. Hide things in areas most players may miss, or NPC quests that can both be completely missed or accidentally end in tragedy.
After all this searching, I still cannot find it.
Hell, you can kill anyone you choose to for that matter.
What's wrong with curses?
Even the route taken through the world is almost entirely up to the player, with some optional bosses and areas that may not even be seen. Developers just weren't doing these things anymore, and even today, few still have the courage to step outside of the mold, fully embracing player choice and freedom. From Software reminded the industry what kind of experience you could craft when you valued your player, and that to me is what will always be their legacy and what sticks with me above all else. Dark Souls simply respects the player. It briefly introduces you to the rules of its world, gives you a set of tools, and lets you carve your own path, like an explorer in a new land. The experience is absolutely unmatched. Traversing the hostile world of Lordran is this ebb and flow of tension and discovery, one that's heavily impacted by the user's playstyle. You have these stretches of unknown, gauntlets of new enemies and potential dangers around every corner, turning even simple encounters into high-stakes battles. How you reach the warmth and safety of the next bonfire is entirely up to you, as the game provides an impressive collection of weapons, magic, and armor that you can mix and match to your heart's content. Seriously, look at all of these. There are so many playstyles to choose from that with a little experimentation, you'll surely find one that suits you. Such freedom comes from the open-ended combat and character build systems. I refer to the combat as a puzzle because of its deceptive simplicity, and with that simplicity, combined with tons of options, results in meaningful player choice. So what does all that even mean? Well, every weapon has unique regular and heavy attacks, some with special attacks of their own. Outside of using magic or items, that's really kind of it. You can also dodge, block, parry, and backstab, but the real fun is figuring out what is the most effective tactic per encounter. Sure, some things may work better throughout the game, but really, every playstyle is viable to some degree. It really comes down to how you want to play the game. You're in complete control of your own experience. There's no classes or predetermined combo system for you to adhere to. No. Instead, you equip whatever the hell you want because it's cool. Or maybe you always wanted to be a strong knight with large weapons. A traditional sword and board soldier. A powerful mage nuking enemies from afar. A dual-wielding rogue assassin. A holy paladin spreading justice across the lands. A katana-wielding badass. A master of flame. An agent of chaos. A god of lightning. Or literally any combination of it all. To complement this playground of combat are also plenty of enemy varieties to keep things fresh throughout your time in Lordran, giving you tons of combat puzzles to solve and opportunities to experiment with different playstyles. Enemies are also placed cleverly within the environment, further providing new opportunities throughout. Another big highlight are the mostly unique boss fights, each with their own set of attacks and abilities. Some are more gimmicky than others, but overall they provide a welcome challenge in their own right and make for excellent encounters. What's more impressive is how your personal playstyle also directly affects the difficulty. I still see people calling the Soulsborne series too difficult, and that it needs an easy mode. While I understand this to an extent, I can't help but feel there's been an easy mode in all of them, but like everything else, it's up for you to find it and utilize it. Not to mention, like any other RPG, you can always spend time farming and over-leveling, completely trivializing some areas altogether. All this to me is true meaningful player choice, not some mandatory checklist of branching dialogue options, but instead allowing me to choose exactly how I play and progress the game. In a lot of ways, it's actually reminiscent of a choose-your-own-adventure experience. I want you to think back to talking about the game with your friends or others online and hearing all the crazy stories. We were all figuring the game out together, sharing our own unique adventures and playstyles, learning about new shortcuts or bosses we may have missed or never even encountered, all made possible through From Software's respect for us, the players, trusting us to find our own way through these hostile lands. Coming out of each area a hardened adventurer with grand tales to share around the warmth of a fire.
It was you who rescued me. Why, thank you.
Dark Souls can be an intense, lonely experience, and so I love that to help alleviate this, From Software added the strangest online features possible, very fitting for this already mysterious game. You'll see the phantoms of other players roaming around their own world in real time, providing comfort in knowing that somewhere someone else is going through the same hell you are. You'll see them resting at bonfires, and even hear when they ring one of the bells of awakening. It may not seem like much, but man, it really adds a lot to the experience. You'll even come across bloodstains that will replay the last moments of some poor stranger's life. In another stroke of absolute brilliance, they gave players the ability to leave messages on the floor to aid or mislead others on their journey. In this dark, lonely game full of challenging dangers and secrets, letting players leave their own hints directly in another's world created this sense of camaraderie and community, despite not directly having a more traditional multiplayer co-op. Only, it actually does have co-op. You can use a resource to restore your humanity and summon friends into your world for some jolly cooperation. The consequence here, however, is that it also opens you up for an invasion. That's right, another player can literally invade your world with the sole intention of murdering you and your friends too. There's also NPCs you can summon to help you slay an area boss or NPC invaders that try to slay you. You can even invade other players yourself, killing them and returning them to their hollow form, forcing them to restore their humanity, fueling the entire action-reaction, consequence-fueled cycle. This game is so fucking amazing. What are we even doing here, people? If you haven't played it, go play it. If you have, go beat it again. Damn, it's so good. I've played countless games, a ton being quite good, but some of them stand above the rest for one reason or another, be it good or bad. I honestly just want an excuse to talk about them and share my thoughts and experiences here with you, taking a moment for some nostalgia time, where we can stop and appreciate this medium that brings us countless hours of joy, to share the moments that perhaps consciously or subconsciously affected and shaped us into who we are today. Games are a unique and powerful medium that deliver an experience no other form of entertainment can, and I really want to just celebrate that with you. I'd be hard pressed to find a better jumping off point than this game right here. I know it's been talked about to death, and this is video number 2,000,000,001, but still, I really wanted to get my thoughts out there. To this day, my first journey through Dark Souls has strongly stuck with me. I also hold the other From Software games in a similarly high regard. Well, mostly. However, nothing comes close to this one. I'll never forget that first fog wall followed by death in the asylum, landing at Firelink Shrine, realizing how connected every area is, feeling overwhelmed with joy after finally slaying the Bal Gargoyles, or that first time you see an Orlando and think, holy shit, this game is still going and introducing me to massive new gorgeous areas. Thinking how I'll never kill the Four Kings, how upset I got that I was betrayed, or how I couldn't save my friend.
I am the God. I've done it. I have.
The jolly cooperation with others, or the hours spent PvPing in the kiln and on gank builds. The emotional revelations after piecing the story together throughout the journey, culminating in killing what remained of a once proud king, only to potentially continue the misguided cycle. It's now 2023, 12 years after the game's launch. We've since had 2 more games in the series, and of course the incredible Bloodborne, Sekiro, and Elden Ring. Soulslike is now its own genre. Soulsborne is an iconic word that everyone immediately understands. There's also tons of games that try bringing their own uniqueness to the genre, and others that are desperately trying to imitate. I came back to this game after a few years, wondering how well it would hold up after playing so many others, especially in a year of genuinely incredible games. I'm very happy to say that Dark Souls, for me, will stand the test of time. This game is an absolute masterpiece, and even today stands with the best of them. From its still striking art style, excellent delivery of its narrative, and player choice driven systems, I'd have no problem loading this game up anytime. My only complaint is that I'll never get that first playthrough experience again.